Warriors, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Van's just about outran him. And she busted her.
Had to blow the dust off the microphone. Good to be back in the studio. First episode of 2023. I am here with co-host Dakota. First off, granted we're 16 days into the year. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a fun and safe holiday season. Yeah, good to be back. Dakota, how have you been?
Pretty good. Nothing too exciting to report. Glad to be back. It's been a long time coming. It seems like it's been forever. It's been like a couple weeks, I'm sure. Got a new camera, so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out for us.
I was going to ask, well, what's new with us? What do we got going?
New camera. Costed a lot of money, but I'm grateful to have been able to get it. We got a new piece of decoration in the studio, courtesy of Kyle Frame. Really appreciate that. As far as behind the scenes, just working on getting ready for 2023. Our race season's coming up pretty quick. Other than that, nothing much. How have you been?
Not bad. I've been super busy with work. That's kind of that's kind of it. Had a good Christmas with the family. Had a good New Year's. But then right back at it. Right back to work. I know you and I had talked about starting back up last week. But we decided to push it back to this week, which is fine.
That was my fault.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for anything either. So, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you reminded me today because I totally would have spaced it. But anyway, we're back in the studio. We did just try to record this like an hour ago, and Dakota literally got some stuff plugged in, and the power went out. So we thought maybe we blew a breaker or something, but it was the whole town.
Yeah.
But anyway, the green flag is out. We're ready to roll 3 wide with DJG. Now, I know that you and I talked about kind of reformatting some things. I think we literally just talked about before starting our recording here right now of redoing our intro. I know we've talked about things like splitting things into segments, just to kind of help us organize the show a little bit more and hopefully make it more entertaining for you guys. I will say that a ton of things in the motorsports world has happened since we've last recorded. Just some things like things that we don't have in our show notes. Passing of Ken Block. We have some, I don't know how to explain this, some news that revolved around the Snowball Derby, some Chili Bowl, Tulsa Shootout. I mean, all sorts of some good, some bad things have happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're thankful to be back in the studio, and I guess let's get rolling.
Alrighty. I will kick off today's episode with some news within NASCAR. So, after he completes his 23rd season in the NASCAR Cup Series, Kevin Harvick will be retiring. In his announcement video released on January 12th, Harvick says it's time to call time. He goes on to say that a new chapter is calling, one where being a dad and a husband takes precedence over being a driver. He also teased the 2023 season by saying there is still more to be written, not on paper, but on asphalt, and who knows, maybe even dirt. I'll say, it's crazy when a driver retires because it's like, you grow up watching them compete, and Kevin Harvick has had one hell of a career in NASCAR. I mean, he took over after the death of Dale Sr., so I couldn't imagine what it was like to be thrown into that position at a young age, by the way. I think he's had an amazing career overall, and it's unfortunate, but 23 seasons, I mean, it's a lot.
I'm 25.
Yeah.
So, that's a long time to be racing. And I think a lot of people, I guess, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but if you're not, a race fan and you're, they don't see it as such a big deal that he's retiring from NASCAR. They're like, oh, why are you retiring? All you do is sit in a car and drive. But, people fail to realize how taxing that is on your body. just the obstacles that these guys go through and the challenges that they put their bodies through. They have special diets, special workouts that they do just to make sure they are in tip-top shape to drive cars.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, while you think driving on your daily in your daily life is easy, you're also not sitting in a hot fire suit in your car that's 120 degrees and for 400 laps.
Right.
But, you know, you also, there's that, but you just also have to look at the legacy that Kevin Harvick has created. And you also got to think he's probably going to focus a lot more on his son, who also races. So he's going to probably work with him a lot there. I think it's a good opportunity for him to focus more on family, but still be involved in racing.
Yeah, and I definitely think he will be involved in some way, shape, or form. I was going to say not even on the physical side of things. Like, that's one big task itself. But, you know, they kick off their seasons in February, and they don't close up shop until November, and then you have December and January to recoup and spend time with family. So, I mean, when you're gone that long from family, I mean, I get it. Like, we have talked about, you know, Brent, for example, people who aren't the drivers who are still on teams that are gone for so long. So
there's never, like, there is an off season from television. There is no off season.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, like you said, he has created a legacy that will last a long time. And, I don't know. I hope 2023 brings him a lot of success in his final year.
It would be nice to have a repeat of, it wasn't last year or this year, was it? Is it last year that him and, which year was it that he just dominated recently?
I think it's been a couple seasons, but
Yeah, you're right. Because it was, this year nobody dominated. Last year it was it Larson and Hamlin?
Yeah.
And then, sorry, my brain's a little foggy, but so, I mean, again, though, next-gen car, it showed us that it has the potential to create a lot of new winners. But again, to be in your last season, I wonder if they're going to do anything big. You know how, like, when Jimmy Johnson announced his retirement, and there was this big... I wonder if they're going to do anything like that for Kevin.
I would hope so. I've seen people talk about that, too, with, like, when, you know, Jimmy retired and Dale Jr. retired, you know, these tracks, you know, did some special stuff for him. I would find it hard to believe that they don't. I think that'd be real shit, you know, real bad.
I don't remember what track it is. Is it Phoenix maybe that they have the Harvick line? I don't know if it's Phoenix. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But like literally, there's a line that people run that they're like, oh, that's the Harvick line. So I mean, like, you've got to think that a track like that has to do something special for Kevin Harvick.
Right. I mean, I would hope so. I would certainly think that they would. I think it would look really bad if they didn't, but I guess we'll see.
I mean, is NASCAR really hindered away from things that make them look bad? I didn't say that.
Not yet.
So, you got it.
You can take it.
Okay. Petty GMS is rebranded to become Legacy Motor Club. The news comes after Petty GMS announced in November that Jimmy Johnson entered an ownership agreement with the team. Richard Petty released a tweet following the news saying, "When I see the number 42 and 43 cars, no matter who the driver was, is currently, or could be in the future, I want our fans to remember the Petty history that comes with them. And that history will continue to be made with Legacy Motor Club. Johnson will join Eric Jones and Noah Gragson in the 2023 season, competing in 5 races behind the wheel of the number 84. What are your thoughts on that?
I never... I honestly believe, like, never say never, but I never thought that Jimmy Johnson would make a return to NASCAR. I thought after he left the sport and then went and tried out for, you know, the IndyCar series, tried that out for a bit. I thought after the IndyCar series he would kind of just like step away. But I think it is cool to see him not only take an ownership position with the team, but also have the chance to make select appearances. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it for him. I think it'll be a pretty awesome opportunity. I also hope that this opportunity will be a good one for Petty GMS. So that's
It'd be nice for them to have a little bit of a breakout year and just kind of not necessarily fly under the radar, but have a good amount of success for them. Not saying that they haven't had success before, but like, you know what I mean? Just make it more of a regular basis, I guess, if that's the correct terminology.
I would say so, yeah.
No, I agree with you. It's always nice to see former drivers come back into the sport, whether it's like part ownership or even just like, hey, I want to run a couple races. You know, for example, we have Dale Earnhardt, who announced that this year he will be running the Bristol race, or the race at Bristol. It's not the dirt race, right?
It would be the asphalt race because it's the
race.
kickoff for the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. So just things like that. It's always nice to see, and I think that's good for the sport itself. You know, knowing that these guys see potential and they want to still be involved in it. It's not like, oh, I'm done. I see where this is going. It's a train wreck. Mm-hmm. They're like, no, I think that, you know, there's good potential here. I want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. This bit of news caught me off guard a little bit. 2311 Racing released a teaser on Twitter announcing that they will be fielding a third car for the 2023 Daytona 500. While the team has not officially announced who would be driving their third entry, it has been rumored that Travis Pastrana will be behind the wheel at Daytona.
Now, that's not... He used to race, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't Cup, was it?
It was the Xfinity
That's
series.
what I thought.
Yeah.
So he has experience, but I don't know if he didn't race at a plate track, did he? I don't know. Did he? He wasn't full time, was he?
I think he has experience on that kind of track. I don't think he, honestly, I don't think he had the best go at it the first time around. But
that's true.
Obviously, the next gen has been a crazy one. So who knows? I mean, he could qualify in and win the race for all we know.
Hey.
But again, another awesome opportunity for Travis, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for the sport to welcome him back for a race, and I think it just makes the Daytona 500 this year a little bit more interesting.
Right, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it, and I was actually we're going to talk about Chili Bowl later, but Chase Briscoe was in the booth one night, and he was talking about how in the beginning of last year, well, a lot of last season, teams. Parts were hard to come by, this, that, and the other. So he was talking about the Daytona 500 last year, that he was in a situation where they said, whatever you do, don't wreck the car, because they didn't have anything to replace it. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you know, this year things are a little different. I think drivers are going to be able to make moves that they wouldn't have been able to make last year. So I'm excited to see if, because I thought about that last year. I feel like I've said that on multiple occasions, that guys aren't being aggressive because the parts are very hard to come by. So they're being really conservative as to where now if they have parts, it's just like, it's not one of those, oh, I can go junk car, I don't own it. But it's like, hey, you know, if we junk this car, we're not out for 6 weeks because we just don't have the parts to build a new car.
Right.
So I'm excited. Next, we have Kyle Larson has announced that he will be competing in the 2024 Indianapolis 500 with Arrow McLaren. And HendrickCars.com. Larson said that this has been a dream for him and his family for a long time. He went on to say that he looks forward to next May and getting a lot of testing to be as ready as possible. Once the Indy 500 concludes, Larson will make the trip back to Charlotte, where he will then compete in the Coca-Cola 600. Larson will become the fifth driver to pull double duty, the first since 2014. I don't know how on earth you could do that.
I couldn't imagine, but again, another great opportunity for Kyle. I know he's been talking about it for the last couple of years. I'm excited. I kind of want to go to the I want to go to the Indy 500 just to say I've gone, because I've never been in person. I think it'd be cool to go just to like kind of get a glimpse of him racing, regardless of how bad the view is.
I was going to say, the thing about the 500 is you have to sit in the right spot for it to be any bit enjoyable. Mm-hmm. If you sit in the wrong spot, you're watching the big screen 95% of the race, which is fine, I guess, but like, especially because they black it out locally, so like we can't just sit at home and watch it.
Right.
They didn't black it out.
They didn't black it out last year, I don't believe.
But that was because of COVID, and they were limited on how many people they were letting into the track or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's that, but like on a normal basis, it's blacked out. So it's like either you go or you don't watch it.
Yeah.
which sucks because I would more than happily, although I bet sponsorship opportunity if any VPN company wants to sponsor us, we could probably hop on a VPN, set it to where like we're supposed to be somewhere else. We could probably watch it that way.
That's true.
I've never thought about doing that.
Because I don't know if they block it out nationwide or if it's just
I
the
think
market.
it's just locally.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. If anybody listening wants to correct me on that, please do so.
Or just sponsor us and give us the money to be able to afford it for a race.
Right. Also, I do want to say, as Dakota and I develop like what specific categories we want to talk in and week out, we'll let you guys know. But I think we should let our viewers kind of help us with the name of the categories or the segments that we're doing.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I really, so yeah, while we're back on that topic, I've been trying to think of ways to get you guys more opportunity to be more involved because I think that's important because without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So we're working on a lot behind the scenes. And I will say, you know, we got a lot of stuff to clean up, but I'm hopeful for 2023. I think this is our year.
Oh, for
to
sure.
really make an impact on, I don't know, maybe the motorsports industry. I don't know. I would love to have more of a presence, but
I think we'll figure something big out this year for us.
I hope so.
Be like, here it is.
I hope so.
But anyway, I just want to say that while I was thinking about it. If you agree with that or not.
No, I do.
But-
I really want to find ways to allow for more engagement from those of you who watch or listen. So I agree 100%. We need to have a meeting at some point and lay it all out, our ideas.
I agree.
But yeah, I agree 100% on that.
So back to the 500 Coca-Cola 600 thing. How does your butt not get tired? Like, that's a lot of time in a race car sitting.
Well, I was doing research to see who the last person was. The last person to do it was Kurt Busch in 2014. And out of the 4 drivers that have done it, Tony Stewart was the only one to complete both races. And it was over 1,000 miles. I couldn't imagine racing one day. Those are both big races, by the way.
Huge.
One of the most taxing races out of each series on the schedule. I couldn't imagine racing all day in Indy, jumping on a plane to fly back to Charlotte, get in a car and race, what is it, like 600 laps, whatever it is?
600
Say
miles.
600 miles. No,
It's 1,100 miles.
I couldn't do it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, I raced 400 laps at Nashville,
I hated it.
and my butt was exhausted when I got done. Granted, I'm in a computer chair, not like a fitted racing seat, but still.
Yeah. I can do
That's
it. God bless him. But I do think it's a cool opportunity. That's one thing I do like seeing is like when there's like crossover, you know, when somebody from IndyCar jumps into NASCAR for a race or two.
Connor Daly, for example.
Yeah. And then seeing, you know, NASCAR drivers jump into IndyCar or other levels of racing. I think it's a cool opportunity for motorsports as a whole, not just that series.
I think my favorite part of that is listening to the drivers describe like what it's like compared to what they're used to, or we're going to talk about Chili Bowl, but Santino Ferrucci was driving in the Chili Bowl, and he was talking about how, you know, he's an IndyCar driver, but he was talking about how watching sprint cars at Knoxville, Iowa, that it is one of the craziest things that he'd ever seen. And he's like, I wouldn't dare step foot in a sprint car at Iowa. I'm like, but you drive 200 plus miles an hour at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but you won't drive a sprint car around Knoxville. Like,
right.
That just goes to show you that like each style of racing, how very different it is, and like how challenging it is. Not to take away from any one or the other, like they're all special in their own unique way. So,
yeah, I agree. It is interesting to hear an IndyCar driver though talk about that, because like I feel like in an IndyCar, like one little move and you could be blown over or in the catch fence or whatever the case may be. And like as an outsider, you would think like, oh well, racing on dirt is nothing compared to IndyCar. But I agree. I think it's there's a level of respect for each level of racing that I think is deserved, and I think that it puts it into some perspective. Oh my gosh, the skill that each level of racing requires of a driver.
I agree. So now we'll move on to some short track stuff. Chili Bowl Nationals. So we had Chili Bowl Nationals, Tulsa Shootout the last couple weeks. I watched a lot of both of those. I didn't watch the ending of the Tulsa Shootout, but I did watch almost all of the Chili Bowl. Knew some people that were running at Chili Bowl. There was some wicked crashes. There was some really good racing. Like, it was all around pretty good, minus the fact that it took 6 hours to get, like, the CBs and A main completed. I don't know. It was nuts. A lot of people are complaining about it. But anyway, the 2023 Chili Bowl Nationals wrapped up late Saturday night after a full day of alphabet soup. History was made. I forget who it was, but they made the longest run through the soup. And it was funny because Chance and I were talking about it in Discord all day. We're like, this guy's still in it. This guy's still in it. We weren't paying attention to how many races he ran, but we just kept seeing his name. We're like, geez, dude.
Yeah.
Notable moments from the alphabet. Oh, hey, there it is. Sorry if I just read ahead. Chris Carroll making Chili Bowl history. He advanced through 7 rounds, N through H, gaining 61 positions overall. That's insane.
Yeah.
You got to think these heat races for the soup races, for better terms, they're only 10 laps, at least the lower ones. Once you got up to like the D's and stuff, they were like 15 or whatever, but 10 laps. And, you know, if you win a race, you start, so say you win your race to move up to the next one. The very best that you're starting is like 5th from last or whatever. They took 7, didn't they? No,
6 or 7.
They took 6. So, I mean, you still have to pass a lot of cars to get to...
Because basically it seems like, maybe this is the higher mains, but like you're basically just tacked on the end.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So, I mean...
They take the top 6 from the previous race and throw them in the end. That's all it is.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, and that's not saying he won all those races either. So there were times where he started further back than... So, to be able to make up that many positions in 7 races that's almost 10 positions a race.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 10. No, there weren't only 10 cars. There were, I don't know how many cars there were in each race.
Several. I don't know if it was 10 or more, but
it was more than 10. I want to say maybe 15.
Maybe. Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't quite remember. It's been a blur.
But either way, still very impressive. Let's see. Tanner Berryhill made his way from H main to an E main, where he fell 1 position short of advancing to the D main. Buddy Kofoid, who was a favorite heading into Saturday, saw his 2023 Chili Bowl hopes come to an end after a flip in the D main. 2 C mains and 2 B mains. The field was set for the 2023 Chili Bowl Nationals. 55 laps. Now, after both C mains, they reworked the track. After both B mains, they reworked the track. And that's where a lot of people were complaining. It just took way too much time.
Yeah.
But shout out to Logan CV. Started on the pole. Led early. Cannon McIntosh took the lead on lap 19. Restart on lap 29 would allow CV to regain the lead from McIntosh. However, Tanner Thorson, that car was bad fast all week. I remember watching him on preliminary night, and I wanted Emerson Axum to beat him so bad, but nobody was touching that car. Nobody. It was hooked up.
Yeah.
And he was right behind CV for a good majority of the race. I know at one point it was so late, I turned the volume up and I shut my eyes, but I was listening to it, and I was just like, I was sitting there, I was like, please CV win this. I don't want Thorson to win this 2 years in a row. I don't have anything against Thorson. I didn't want a repeat winner, like 2 years in a row.
Right.
But yeah, so Logan Seavey, winner, owner of his car, Kevin Swindell. Didn't you order?
I did. So, shout out to Speed Labs, I guess. Swindell Speed Labs. They developed a energy drink.
I think it's an energy drink. Victory Fuel.
Victory Fuel. I placed an order. So once they get back from Chili Bowl Nationals, they'll start delivering or shipping that stuff out. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I heard it's really good. But yeah, it's an awesome win for not only Logan, but Kevin and Jordan Swindell, Swindell Speed Labs. He won. One of his drivers won in the shootout too, I believe.
I don't know.
I don't remember which driver it was, but I do believe he won a driller in the shootouts with one of his drivers. So I don't know. It's cool.
I'm sad that it's over, just because I never really had this big build up to Chili Bowl or the Tulsa Shootout, but once it's here, I'm like, oh, I want to do nothing but watch it.
I was gonna say, so last year was my first time watching it, both Shootout and Chili Bowl, because I think last year you were here all summer basically, and we watched, I think, most of it.
Chili Bowl wasn't on in the summer, bud.
Or winter. You know what I mean. It's been a blur. But you know what I mean. Where you were here and we watched most of it. And then this year, I was excited to watch it. And even if I was sleeping or trying to go to bed, I would have it on blast. And I was just I'll listen to it while I try to sleep. But
there was a couple nights where I'm like, man, I really don't want to shut this off and go to bed. But then I was like, yeah, I'll just figure out on Twitter in the morning who won.
Yeah.
But I was not about to go to bed, but on Saturday night.
Well, I went to the Waffle House and I wasn't sure what time they were going to start, so I guess I could have pulled it up and watched it. But
I don't even care if whatever I'm doing. I told Shalina, I was like, if we're out Saturday night, phone right there. Mm-hmm. I'm watching it. Don't care. We went to the bar Friday. We go to Roadhouse here in town every other Friday night, and I get a steak. And we have a few drinks or whatever. But you best bet I was sitting at the bar, eating my food, drink, and phone right there. But, no, there was a lot of, like I said, a lot of really good racing there. So I want to bring something up, and I don't know how many people know about this. I'm sure not many. I only know about it because of Chance. Sorry to throw you under the bus, bud. But so I'm going to try and... It's his sister's boyfriend. So I'm leaving names out as far as who this driver is.
Do I know about this, or is this breaking news to me too?
I think Chance was trying to kind of explaining it to you Saturday night.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to hear this.
So it has to do with Keith Kuntz Motorsports and Engler. So basically... To my knowledge, Engler he said anybody running one of his engines, there was no budget. So if something broke, he had people back at his shop ready to bring replacement parts, no matter what. And I guess that they were so fast that the tech guys were over there causing an issue, saying that if an Engler car wins, they're teching it insane. Mm-hmm. They're tearing it down.
This is allegedly too, by the way, I think.
Yes, thank you. Allegedly. Insert picture of Pat McAfee. Allegedly.
Yeah.
So it was said back to the tech guys that, well, if you're going to do that to my car, you better do it to a Keith Kuntz car if they win. And they're like, well, we don't have to do that. So basically there's a rule that if your car gets torn down, you can choose 3 cars. I don't know. There's a whole ordeal with that. But anyway, so that was a huge mess. I don't know if anything ever came from it. Again, allegedly. I don't know truth. I just know kind of through the grapevine. What else? We had a lot of wild wrecks. I know several flips. I don't know what the flip count ended up being. There was one that cleared a fence. Mm-hmm. I believe ended up catching on fire. There was a couple that were on fire.
There was a couple that caught on fire. I know there was one that basically flipped over essentially like a concrete barrier.
Yeah,
And like down the,
There was like a little bit of chicken wire there or something, and it
Yeah.
went like up and kind of through the chicken wire, and then was like by the stands.
yeah.
And then there was another one that caught on fire that was upside down, and the lady track worker got off with their fire extinguisher, and they about flipped the car over on
Yeah,
her.
we were on Discord and we were watching it, and I was watching the replay, and like Chance was like a minute behind, it seemed like, and so I was like, they almost hit her with the car.
Yeah.
And Chance goes, "Oh my god, they did!" And I was like, "Crazy."
CJ Leary took a wicked spill in his B main on his preliminary night, which I was very impressed. He went 14th to 1st in his C main that night. The Alex Bowman cars are fast. They just had a lot of bad luck.
Yeah,
So I think that, CJ didn't make the A main, didn't make the main on Saturday. So that's a name that I expected to be in there that I think he would have been had he not ran into issues. But
yeah,
and a lot of big names weren't there that a lot of people expected to be there. I also want to point out, okay, so the purse for this race was $10,000, and that's why guys like Larson and Bell weren't there. And people are complaining that, oh, you make enough money, why are you worried about it? It's not worth. See, I don't understand. I can't fathom being Keith Kunz Motorsports, where you show up to Chili Bowl with 16 cars to possibly only win 10.
yeah,
10 grand.
yeah. I saw, which if this is true, I think it's mind blowing. But I heard somewhere that like, well, no, this is fact. Like the iRacing Championship pays more
Really?
than Chili Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, which I think is deserved. I'm not hating on iRacing, but like, Chili Bowl National is supposed to be one of the biggest dirt races of the year, and you can only pay $10,000. Which we talked about this before last year, and how like the promoter or whoever it was basically like, you don't know what my budget is, and I was like, show it, like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there was 365 cars total that showed up to Chili Bowl. Mm-hmm. You have all these sponsors, fans paying admission.
and like tickets for Chili Bowl is not cheap because I'm pretty sure my dad looked because I wanted to go next year, and it's like you have to basically buy like a week pass.
Yeah. And so, like, all this money, and I also want to point something else out. The 50-50, the overall, like, 50-50 pot was over $100,000. Mm-hmm. So that means the winner share was $50,000, which is 5 times more than the winner of the damn race.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think, not to cut you off if you wanted to add more, but I think that if you have the ability, and there's no way that they don't, to pay your winners more, you should. Like, it's just like, to me, that's unexcusable. Because like, if Winchester had the ability to pay their Winchester 400 winner more than they already do, I'm sure they would. Because Winchester 400,
They
used to be a
tried.
bigger. Yeah. They tried last year, like, what was it? If they brought 50 cars in, it'd be like $50,000 or whatever
Something
it was.
like that.
There's no way that the Chili Bowl team that puts it on, that is responsible for the finances, cannot pay their drivers more. And then like the promoter's attitude last year about like, well, this race makes names. It's like, where?
No one's going to show up if you don't pay them.
Right. It's like, where? What drivers came out of the Chili Bowl that we already don't know?
Now, there is another side to this argument of people saying that, look, they don't care how much they got paid. They're happy that they won this race. There are some of those.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think it's a flip of the coin. Like, I think it would be a big race to participate in and have the opportunity to participate in. But it's also like,
But then you have to look at
don't
drivers
be pissed
like,
off when drivers like Kyle Larson don't show up.
Right. And like another viewpoint on that, you have to look at drivers who have won it before. Okay, they've already won it. So if they go back, they're solely there for the money, I feel like.
Yeah.
So when you're not paying that much, no, they're not going to come. Especially when Kyle Larson's racing in the Wild West Shootout, which I don't know what it paid, but I bet it was more than $10,000.
I mean, I would assume so because if I remember correctly, Kyle Larson's whole point was that it was about the payout and how he thought it was unfair. And I think allegedly, I believe that like the Chili Bowl team like counts on these big name drivers to show up because they know that they can profit from that. As far as like we can bring in Kyle Larson fans if Kyle Larson shows up, we could bring in drivers who want to compete against Kyle Larson, but it's like you have to like I'm sorry, you have to like pay for that, I guess.
Right, and there really weren't that many big names. I mean, you have your typical like sprint car guys.
Yeah, I mean,
midget guys, like, you know, you have your Emerson Axum, Tanner Thorson, Thomas Meserol. Like, you have all those guys.
which I would consider
Justin Grant.
you know regulars.
Right. And now you have your few, like Chase Briscoe, Santino Ferrucci. But, I mean, beyond that,
Yeah.
you got to think. Last year we had Kyle Larson. We had Christopher Bell. We had Chase Elliott. You know, Kyle Busch was there 2 weeks ago for the Tulsa Shootout.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he come back for the Chili Bowl?
Right.
Connor Daly was there last year at Chili Bowl. Wasn't there this year. Now,
Right.
I'm not sure if his was a money thing or he just simply didn't want to do it. But you got to think that that might play into it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, because last year I was like, oh, I don't know how bad this is going to hurt Chili Bowl. I mean, I don't think it hurt them at all. Not like I maybe thought, but I don't think we'll ever have this conversation again. So I guess it don't matter because I think overall it was a success. But
Oh, for sure.
it's just like I think it is a conversation to be had. Like if you have the ability to I mean, they're not asking for $50,000,
No.
but like, you know, 10 grand is like. Again, I don't know dirt racing that well. I'm new to it, but it's like that seems like it's a regular show payout. So,
If they can't pay the drivers any more, pay the winner any more than they do, I would like to see why.
mm-hmm.
Like, I think that there has got to be a more strategic way to spend money.
I mean, I don't buy that. I don't buy their position last year where it was like, well, you don't know what my budget is. Then show us the budget.
Right, and they're like, well, we're not making any money.
I don't buy that.
You have to be somewhere. Why do you keep doing it?
Right. I don't buy that. I think because especially with like the sponsorships that come with it, like Lucas Oil, I mean, they're not just giving you like a couple grand. Like I can't imagine how much that deal is.
Right.
You know, I know like, I don't remember what track it was or what broadcast company it was, but like for a track to bring in a broadcast crew, it's expensive. So like, I don't know. I think the money's there. I think it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't think they're doing it for the money, but like, you know what I mean?
Speaking of broadcast companies, can we thank the Lord that we only had to have Flow this year to watch the entire thing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so nice.
Last year was god awful. And I went back on my Twitter because I made some mean tweets about MAV TV, but my
Dude, it
God,
was so bad.
It was awful. I mean, but that's probably how we would do too if we got thrown in that position. I don't know. I think we'd be better, but it was awful.
They literally broadcast races all the time.
Yeah.
So for them to go in there and something where Flow's like, oh, we got it. And they're like, nah. All I can think of is like, for some reason, I get the image of, you know how like it's like big brother, little brother, but the big brother's got his hand on his little brother's forehead, and the little brother's like,
Yeah.
That's how I viewed that. But then it's like the little brother was way better at whatever they were doing or trying to do.
It was awful.
But that was probably a bad graphic.
No, but it was awful. Did we want to touch base on what we talked about earlier?
Yeah, so one of the worst wrecks, in my opinion, of the weekend, 16-year-old Ashton Torgerson. I don't know how many of you have seen it, if any of you. It's been very hard to find, I will say.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So he was in a wreck. What night was that?
Friday? No.
No, it was like Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday.
I think it was Wednesday night because I woke up Thursday and saw it.
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
So his car flipped multiple times. And if you watch the video that we were able to find, someone has a slow-mo of it somewhere. But as he flips, his head comes above the frame, like the cage. And so you're like, oh, that's
He's moving
not right.
around a lot, yeah.
And by the time he's done flipping, he is completely out of the car, which is unheard of. It is one. Okay, so I was talking to you and AJ about this. I'm like, there's two things here. There's two sides to this. And one's good, one's very bad. Mm-hmm. on the positive side, they're at Chili Bowl. Small track, they're flying, don't get me wrong, but they're not going as fast as they could. So he has that going for him. Falling out of a race car in the middle of a race isn't good regardless. There's no way to make that a positive. But on the bad side of them being at Chili Bowl is that it's a small track and he's lucky that no one ran him over. Mm-hmm. I know that I didn't see the broadcast because I was asleep that night. I woke up the next morning and saw it, and then Dakota was like, dude, someone fell out of their fucking race car. And not funny. But so like I was trying to figure out, what happened, find a video, and eventually like you see it, but it cuts away as soon as like he's out of the car.
Which I will say, good job on the broadcast team for
Yeah.
cutting away as quick as they did. And
They were very good about that with, cars that were upside down and on fire. Like, you didn't get to see it. Like, it would initially happen, and then they were like, boom, off of it. Mm-hmm. So they were very good about that, which, for the sake of things, that's good. But me as a viewer is like, I want to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like if I was there, like, if I see a car on fire, I'm locked on it.
right.
But anyway, I know they took Ashton to the hospital. He was awake, talking, coherent at the time. They ended up doing several CT scans. No broken bones, but they did find a little bit of blood on his brain. But each time they did another CT scan, it wasn't getting any worse. So I think doctors were very impressed with how well he was doing given the circumstances. And I still don't know exactly what happened. I've heard a lot of assumptions. But it makes sense to me in sprint cars and midgets and stuff like that, they have straps on their arms, restraints, if you will, to keep their arms inside the car for situations like so. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know how a 5-point harness works, it's literally a latch. If you pull the latch, it unbuckles. So they think that little restraint that is attached to his arm hooked the latch while he was flipping and unlatched his belts. Mm-hmm. Which even then, like, whenever I undo my belts in my car, like if I unlatch it, they're still kind of stuck together a little bit. But he's also flipping, so they were going all over the place.
Right.
And so, like, that makes sense to me, but I don't think we'll ever know for sure.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from Matt Weaver, I think, that said it would come down to the team on whether or not they release that information.
I'm assuming they won't.
Probably not. I will say, though, I was not watching the broadcast that night. I was about to go to bed. I got on Twitter and I saw that somebody was ejected from their car, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like looking over Twitter to see like if there's any updates on who it was and what happened. And I saw the video and it was disgusting.
I will say, though, sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to say that, like, when they use the term ejected from their car, like, I'm literally envisioning this dude getting thrown from his car.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah. It was disgusting because it was just like, I think, as bad as this might sound, it did look like it was a more graceful, like he just got like, it wasn't like thrown out.
But if you watch the mid flip before he's out of the car, like, he's lucky he didn't break his neck.
Yeah, because it looked like the car came on top of him. I don't know. That's God, dude. Like,
I
mean, if I get if you don't believe in it, but like I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, like,
and then he was literally back at the track. So he wasn't racing, but I don't think he's seen a video of the wreck yet because the doctors told him no phone, no TV, nothing like that. So I don't think he even really knows what happened.
Yeah.
But literally just the black eye. He was there. He gave a speech, everything, interviews, like a miracle.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, he could have been crushed to death. He could have been ran over because I heard that there were cars behind him, which I don't doubt. A miracle.
I also want to bring something else up from Chili Bowl. Not like it's not really racing related, but can we talk about the night that they had someone whistle the national anthem?
My mom thought it was disrespectful.
I don't even know, man. I'm impressed that the guy didn't mess up his whistle at all the whole time, but like, I was just like, that's the first time I've ever heard anything like that, and I
hope it's the last time.
I didn't like it. I
was not a fan. I teach their own. I don't care one way or the other. I didn't like it, but I guess we have to be good at something, and that's his talent. So
I guess
I hope I never have to endure that again. But
It was really funny though because I was sitting on the couch with Shalina and I was like, dude, I was like, you can literally see how wet his lips are.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like a Fergie situation. It was just not. I didn't like it. I think you're better off just playing it over a speaker.
For sure, 100%.
At that point, but
To each their own.
exactly.
All right, next.
Alrighty.
We need to get a next button.
I know. What are my buttons? Oh, we can't hear it. Wrong one. Okay, anyway. This is probably my favorite news of this episode. So it was announced that Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Justin Marks have purchased the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. The team and new owners say that they will help the series expand through brand management, business strategy, and partnership acquisition and retention. Following the announcement, Dale Jr. said, "I'm a huge fan of the Cars Tour and local short track racing." He went on to say that the competition, the tracks, and the drivers are some of the best around. These regional series are vital to the quality of racing you see at the top level.
I think that's a great move. We talked about earlier, we love seeing guys that are maybe no longer racing. It's, Kevin Harvick is retiring at the end of the season, but he's staying involved in grassroots stuff. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is probably one of the biggest advocates for short track racing that you will find outside of maybe any of the drivers. Dale still participates in late model races, and he's a big voice behind iRacing and some of the tracks that they get on iRacing, and he's just a big reason why I think short track racing is still as relevant as it is today, and why there's still a fight to keep it relevant.
I was going to say, this might be a big jump, but I think that, and this isn't to discount the drivers and teams and people heavily involved in racing, but I do think that Dale Jr. will be one of the voices to keep short track racing relevant and alive.
Yeah.
I think that, because like you said, he's heavy in it, involved in it, and I think he will be one of the key factors in short track racing.
I agree.
My opinion.
I agree. New face in motorsports. When I first found out that this person raced, I was like, what?
I never would have thought.
No.
I mean, I've known for a couple years now since finding out.
But it's been very, hidden, I guess.
Right.
It's not, I don't think it's a very well-known fact. But anyway, Frankie Muniz has announced that he will be joining Rat Jones Racing to compete for an ARCA National Series Championship in 2023. Following the news, Muniz spent the weekend testing at Daytona, preparing for his ARCA debut next month. Man, already next month.
I know.
I'm so excited. In his announcement, Muniz said, "It's with the utmost excitement, optimism, and gratitude that I'm joining Rat Jones Racing for the full ARCA Menard Series schedule this year." He went on to say, "Ever since childhood, it's been my dream to pursue racing in NASCAR, and it was important for me to partner with a team that aligned with my long-term objectives and vision while providing every opportunity imaginable to grow mentally and physically as a full-time race car driver. I look forward to not only demonstrating my ability on the track and just how serious I am in progressing in my racing career, but also showing my son and family what it is to chase your dreams and reinvent yourself." Inspirational.
It is. I'm excited.
No, I mean, me too. Like I said, when I first found out that he even was racing at all, I think I found out maybe a year or two ago. I was like, what on earth? I'm like, is this fake?
Right.
And then it's not. It's very clearly not fake, but I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I do too. Because like you're saying, and I thought too, it was I never would have thought, but I don't think I've seen as much passion from a driver in quite a while than Frankie. He's very passionate about racing. He's very passionate about, like he says, reinventing himself and making a name for himself in the motorsports world. So I'm excited for him, and I can't wait to see what he's able to accomplish.
For sure. Next, we have the 2023 schedules.
Which I have those. I wanted to go over a few. So I'll go over ARCA real quick. CRA ARCA Series. They will kick off their season January 27th and 28th at Speedfest at Crisp Motorsports Park. Then they will go to Anderson April 29th, Salem June 3rd, Nashville Fairgrounds July 2nd, back to Anderson July 15th, August 12th. They will be at Indianapolis Raceway Park, which is the day after the Truck Series, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I did get tickets to that again, though. Very excited. September 3rd, they'll go to Winchester. September 16th, they will then go to Toledo. October 14th and 15th, they will come back to Winchester. That will be with the Stars National Tour. And then they will close out their 2023 season at All-American 400 on November 4th and 5th. Speaking of the Stars Tour, I have their schedule for 2023 as well. March 11th, they will kick off at Five Flags, followed by Madison International Speedway on May 7th. May 16th, they will then go to North Wilkesboro. May 25th, they will then take on Hickory. July 11th, they will then go to Slinger. And then Anderson, July 15th. August 1st, Wisconsin International Raceway, followed by Toledo on September 16th. October 15th, they will go to Winchester. And then the Stars National Tour will end their season November 5th at Nashville.
How many new names do you think that this brings to the Winchester 400?
I don't know.
I'm hoping it's a lot.
I do too. I wanted to talk to you about the Stars Tour as well. I think we're on the same page, but like it's a huge deal for short track racing. Huge deal for the series involved. I don't know. So what are you looking forward to? Or
as far as super late model racing, we get to go to 2, maybe 3 races a year for, Anderson and Winchester. That's really about it. And as we've noticed over the years, the car count's diminishing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm hoping that just brings more people to the super late model side of things. I know it's expensive.
Yeah.
So, that always plays a huge factor, but I don't know. I'm just hoping that it makes it more competitive. Like I would love, this is super unrealistic thinking here, but I would love every race to have a snowball derby type approach where they take the X amount from qualifying. I don't think you can make a whole week out of it, obviously, but like what I'm saying is like the people that qualify into the race, like the top 30 or whatever, they're separated by like less than a second, like half a second. Like that's just how competitive it is.
Right.
I would love that to be a thing. Now again, never going to happen. Super wishful thinking, but I don't know. I think, like you said, it's very good for short track racing and everything as a whole. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I think that, I hope that the people in charge make the right decisions. I think there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road ahead, but I think eventually they'll get it figured out, and I think it's going to be super successful.
That's what I hope too. I think, again, the keyword potential is huge here. I think there is a lot of potential. I would say knowing what I know now, like listening to like the press conferences that they had at Nashville late last year for the last All-American, it sounds like they know what they're talking about. They have experience. So hopefully the road isn't as bumpy as we might think it will be, but I think it will be a good thing for short track racing, for super late model racing. I really hope that it puts super late model racing back on a map, if you will. So I don't know. I think it'll be successful. I think it might take a couple years to really catch on, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, for sure.
I also have some news regarding the IROC Challenge Series, because I would like for us to cover iRacing a little bit more than what we've done in the past. I would love to cover not only the IROC Series, but the Coca-Cola Series when we can. So the IROC Challenge Series recently wrapped up Season 5, where Brian McCann was crowned the champion. Shocking. Just kidding. If you're looking, I like the guy. I think he's cool, but he's very dominating.
He's very good on the sim.
Yeah. If you're looking for an iRacing league, the IROC Challenge Series is currently open for driver registration. The deadline to register for Season 6 closes on January 22nd. If you have any questions or wanting to learn more, you can find the IROC Challenge Series on Facebook by simply searching IROC Series. Highly recommend. I will be returning hopefully for Season 6.
Hashtag ad read.
Not sponsored.
Wally asked me today if I was going to, but I told him, I was like, I'm not sure. Like, I want to, but I just haven't been able to put the time into it. And I was like, I don't think it's fair for me to take up a space potentially for somebody who has the time and would be there every week and stuff. And he's like, well, we have the space. Just let me know so I can get everything situated with paints and stuff. So I'm still thinking about it.
I respect that.
The only thing, another major thing for me, I think the start time.
Yeah.
It's just so, it's like races don't start till 9:15, and like we don't finish till 11:30 midnight, and then I get off, and then it's like, okay, so much has just happened. Yes, it's a simulator, but we're racing for a lot of money, a lot of like real high things on the line here. So it's just like, then like I'm all wound up after the race, especially if I get wrecked out and I'm like mad. Yeah. Then I have to like let my brain calm down before I can go to sleep. So by the time I'm like tired again, it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to work, and then my Friday drags.
So not to talk down on the IROC series and the people involved, because I highly respect all of them, and I think that they've built a great thing. We've been around the past couple of seasons. I think what was it, like season?
We started season 2.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been around. I thought it was season 3. We've been a lot longer than that. I wonder, because they are building a great thing. You know, they also have content creation going on now. Huge congrats to those guys. But I wonder if the start times are also maybe not what's best for future partnerships.
Well, I know why they do it. It's because,
I mean, I get why they do it, but I also think that, like, I wonder if it's hindering certain things. I'm just saying they've built a great thing, but like starting at 11 o'clock, it's like Eastern time. It's like, you know, are you hindering maybe like the viewership
that's possible
count? Because who wants to stay up, you know, 10, 11 o'clock watching a long race most of the time? This season they've been shorter, but
I mean, it's, you know, there's nights where like our first race at Lucas Oil where it was nothing but yellow
takes
flags.
7 hours.
The race realistically should take 45 minutes, but it takes 2.5, 3 hours just because we ran the whole thing under yellow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
That happens. But no, I like everybody in the league, all the people that have put money and work and time and effort into this. Like, I appreciate all of them. But like I said, like, which Wally said they have space, but I don't know. I just felt bad. Like, if I'm taking up a spot, Wally doesn't care. You paid money, like whatever. Right. But I'm just like, you know, I don't want to pay to show up for 5 races just because I don't have all the time in the world to put into it anymore.
Like I'm kind of on the flip side of that, where it's like, compared to a lot of these guys, I mean, I know I suck because I also don't have a lot of time to put into it. But it's like these guys, like some of these guys have like tried or will try to go into the Coca-Cola series. I have no doubt. I know there is one guy that was talking about it for sure. So like
I talked about it at one point.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's the best of the best, and then there's me, and I'm like, I'm definitely holding up a spot. But I also finished 22nd in points, so I'm automatically like locked in. So
think of how much better you've gotten since you started
for sure.
racing with the IROC group. Like we were racing modifieds the other night, and you were hanging with me.
Yeah. So I was going to say though that was the point I wanted to make. So 2023, like new year, new me. I'm hoping I could put in a lot more time into iRacing. Because I would love to like eventually like stream like iRaces and stuff.
Right. And
just be better overall. I mean, the guys that I race against, I think deserve to race against people of equal.
Some of them are very good
caliber. Yeah.
Yeah. I said something to you a while ago. So when we raced in the All American 400, the guy that won it, Ryan Kuhn, he races late models in real life, but he does iRacing setups. And I guess they're doing like a driver development program on the sim or something crazy like that. So like I would love to be a part of that, but it's just like I gotta find the time to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that could be very rewarding, especially knowing that he stomped me on the All American 400. So being able to learn from people who he's literally like the second or third best asphalt oval driver on the sim. Looking at the stats on iRacing. So, I mean, like, being able to learn from people like that and potentially, like, work my way up the ranks would be super beneficial, but it's just, like, how much would that pay off for me? I know that there's this huge what if, you have, is it William Byron?
I was going to say, not to cut you off, but I was going to make that point too. For all of you who shit on iRacing, because like, I'm being honest with you, like, yes, it is a simulator, but like, I would agree, if you have a good setup, you're getting as close to real life racing as you can. But like, I've learned so much as a driver through iRacing that I've applied it to like racing at Mount Lawn.
Yeah.
There are opportunities available. Like drivers who go into the Coca-Cola series,
They are on legit
they
race
are
teams.
on like legit NASCAR teams that are competing in the esports division of iRacing. Like, it's not just like a weekend. Like, no, like they are like contracted with like Stuart Haas Racing and, the other teams that I think Hendrick might be your.
There's Elliott Sadler Esports.
Yeah. I know Joe Gibbs had a team.
But like some of these real NASCAR teams have
Yeah.
esports sites to them, which blows my mind.
I want DJG to get big enough to where we can do that. But like, anyway, like these drivers have sponsorships. They're getting paid like, I mean, I've tried Googling to see how much their contracts are. I'll never know, but I can't imagine it's cheap. Like they're probably getting paid like decently.
I even messaged a lot of their like Twitter pages, like, so how does this work? And I never really got good feedback as to like, what do you have to do to get recruited to these teams, or like how does this whole situation work? So I would love to know.
Yeah.
Just to know, not even so I can be like, oh, I can do that. I mean, I'd like to think I could, but it's just like, how does all this even work? Like, there's so much behind the scenes stuff that I want to know about.
Yeah. Because it is interesting, but like, that's my point. Like iRacing does have like plenty of opportunities available for people who, I mean, obviously you have to be good, but like if you put time into it, you can be good.
Right. Like there's select drivers who have a real life ride.
I mean,
simply because they were good at iRacing.
William Byron, Ty Majeski.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. And like, even if you don't want to go to the Coca-Cola series, for example, or, racing leagues, I mean, just to be able to develop your driver strategy and your craft as a driver, I mean, that's as close as you're getting to the real deal. So
Absolutely.
I heart iRacing. All right. To close out the show, I'm also excited about this segment.
Bum, bum, bum.
So I'm calling it right now green flag, red flag. You can also say caution flag. But basically, it's a little fun way in my mind for us to talk about some topics and not only just give our opinion, but kind of like explain why we're rating it the way we are. So the first topic is Hailie Deegan to ThorSport. Hailie Deegan announced last month that she would be joining ThorSport behind the wheel of the number 13. ThorSport, who is partnered with Toyota last season, made the move back to Ford following the news that DGR was rebranding to Tricon with Toyota. So my question I will pose to you.
Green flag.
Okay, why?
So I'm not going to sit here and talk down on DGR, but they're not the caliber of ThorSport. We've seen the success that ThorSport, the domination ThorSport has had over this last several years. It's either ThorSport or a KBM truck. Now, with them being Toyota last year, yada, yada, yada. But, Matt Crafton, who's been racing trucks for 97 years,
Right.
has multiple championships.
Well, and I want to add into your thing too. ThorSport has been with Ford for a long time,
Yes.
previously to Toyota, so they've had a lot of success with Ford too.
Yes. I don't know. I just think this is a lot of people are going to disagree with me here because a lot of people are under the assumption that she can't drive. I disagree. I think a lot of times she just gets caught up in something she can't get out of. So I think with her being in different equipment, I think she'll be better.
Okay.
I think it's good for her career.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going to say I'm throwing the caution on this.
Okay.
Because I think we're really close to thinking here, but I want to say, yes, DGR was not in the same pool as KBM or ThorSport. I will give you that. But they also were a pretty dominating team too.
Yes.
And so maybe not the best equipment, but like they're up there with those two teams. So I want to say that Hailie Deegan has the potential to be a good driver. I think she is a good driver. I agree with you that she has but but I also think that DGR had pretty good equipment, not the same level as those two teams. But I do want to say, though, to close out this point, I'm afraid that this deal, while it's good for Haley, I support it 100%. I'm rooting for her. I think will make or break her career.
Oh,
because, Kyle Busch said that if you can't win in KBM, you can't win in anything. Okay. On the flip side of that, Todd Gillen raced for KBM. I think won one race, was fired, went to Front Row, who had an alliance with DGR. I don't know why I keep saying that. It was successful. So I'm hoping that it's the flip of this too, that like she goes to Thor Sport, she can win. But I think that this deal will make or break, because if you can't win in Thor Sport, you're not going to win in anything. I really believe that more with Thor Sport than KBM.
See, I think a lot of it has to do with, like, okay, hear me out. So you were talking about Todd Gillen, right? Mm-hmm. Just now?
Yeah.
Okay. We know Todd's a really, really good driver.
Yes.
We think Haley Deegan is a good driver. We see potential. So I think it's that the DGR equipment fits more for somebody who has a really good understanding of what they're doing, where I want to give Haley the benefit of the doubt here and say she still has a lot.
Oh, for sure.
And so, like, I think her being surrounded by the people that she's going to be with at ThorSport will help that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say she's going to go out and win every race, because that ain't going to happen. But I think she'll have more consistent top 10 finishes, top 5 finishes this year, or even just finishes in general where she's not getting, I don't know. I think her coaching and the atmosphere of ThorSport will help develop her to a point to where she can excel in whatever she's in.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Because, like, you watched her in ARCA. She was good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we know that there's something there.
I definitely think she has the potential.
But I do agree with what you were saying about DGR and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I don't know. Because I do agree with that point, too. It's like some people just don't do well in certain environments. And I don't necessarily think that DGR, set her back. I just think that maybe the coaching style was different. And so I think this will be a great opportunity for her. I'm obviously rooting for her, but I don't have an opinion to give on like what I think the season is going to look like. I think her first season there might be a little rough, but regardless, I think that if, God forbid, she doesn't perform well at Thor Sport, I don't know if Haley Deegan has a meaningful career after the fact.
right. And that may be the truth. I also just really like Haley Deegan and the fact that one of my friends works at ThorSport.
And was featured in her YouTube video, by the way. Check it out.
Shout out my boy.
That was fun. Okay. I'm trying to reduce the cussing this year for partnership reasons.
This is warranted.
Arca, what the fuck?
Okay. So listen, I'm scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I see this picture. I think it was Landon Huffman and like Mullins Racing. And I see this Ford Mustang Mach-E body ARCA car. And so my first thought, I'm like, are they testing electric ARCA cars? I thought that was the case. I don't think that's the case. I think I just jumped the gun and made myself look stupid. But if you look at the pictures of these cars, which I believe they will be in...
I will put them in post-edit.
Okay. They are the most hideous things I've ever seen in my life. So I will say I think the Mach-E looks better than the Chevy. But the front valence on these cars is massive. Like...
bigger than our desk.
Literally. So whenever the pictures are up, notice... Well, first off, I'm going to tell you, look at the sticker underneath the hood of the Mach-E. It's pretty funny. It says, built Ford tough with Chevrolet stuff. Whatever. Ha, ha, ha. But then look at the front end of the Chevy. Like, there is a whole, like, literally, look at our desk if you're watching the video and stick it on the front of a Chevy. That's what it is. The front valence bumper, whatever you want to call it, of this car, we could eat dinner off of. It's so blocky and hideous.
I made a joke that I could rent it for like $2,000 a month.
Yeah, literally.
Like, it's stupidly massive. I will say red flag. I don't understand what ARCA and the manufacturers of these body panels are doing, but I don't like it, and I hope they revert back to, because they were using like old NASCAR bodies and stuff like that. I don't know what this is, but red flag.
Also, I think I'm going to say red flag too. I'm hesitant between red and yellow, just because like I don't know. Like, I get what they're trying to do. They're like the ARCA cars were going 176 miles an hour around Daytona. Like, that's fast.
Mm-hmm.
But they look hideous, and I don't understand why they're using a Mach E body if it's not an electric. Like, it just doesn't make. I don't know. I'm confused about the whole situation.
Surely that's not like a joke, right? Like, that's.
I don't know. But it is Landon Huffman, so like it very well could be.
I don't know. Red flag. Don't like it.
But in the video, or not the video, the picture that you showed me for our thumbnail, was that a Ford on it?
It was, but I think it was a Fusion because that was Frankie's car.
Okay, so then maybe that was just a joke, or maybe that's something that they're testing.
But I've seen it to where like Chevy's had it too. Like, it wasn't just his car that had it.
Had what? The Mach E?
Oh, I was talking about the huge ass.
Oh,
bumper.
no. I'm talking about them using the Mach E.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
So, like, the Fusion makes sense because that's what it has been. Mm-hmm. So I'm just confused if, like, the Mach E.
We need to reach out to Landon for comment.
Right. I guarantee you he'd probably answer. But yeah, the Chevy thing, I don't know. I don't understand how that's going to work. The way that, I don't know. I have no idea.
I feel like there's better ways to restrict speed if that's what they're going for.
No, I think they're trying to speed them up. Like, they're giving them aero that's closer to the ground. That's why the valences are so big, because they literally, there's no air getting underneath the car.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if that's the case, is there any other way to do it without putting
I could be wrong. I don't know.
5-bedroom, 3-bath house in the front of it?
Something.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, me either. All right.
Okay, this is the last one, and I have to take over on this one because I was going to play it for Jarrett, and I can't play any sound out here. So, nepotism in NASCAR. So there's been a trend on TikTok.
Before you continue,
yes,
for my stupidity, and I'm sure other people, please define this word for me.
Yes. Actually,
I should have just blamed it on the viewers and played it off like I knew what it was, but
that's okay.
I don't.
I knew what nepotism.
I've heard it used before, but I don't know.
I know what it is, but please hold. Okay,
Holden.
The Oxford Dictionary definition of nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. Okay? That's what nepotism is. I'm actually going to pull this up and play it for you so you can listen. But I'll try to... just kidding. I'll describe it because I don't want to have to try to edit it out. But anyway, there's been a trend on TikTok regarding nepotism babies. And there was a creator, I dropped him in my notes, but I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'll just say, a NASCAR creator on TikTok responded by making a video about nepotism in NASCAR. The drivers that he used as his examples included Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, the Dillon brothers, Dale Jr., and then there was like a media personality. My question is, do you agree that that's nepotism? Or, okay, I'm going to say red flag on this. I don't agree with it being nepotism, although I just read the definition, so if you disagree with me, that's fine. I think it sounds like nepotism, but I don't think it is because, and maybe it is, I don't know. I want to say, though, motorsports has been marketed as a family sport for a very, very long time. Okay. And we can even go down to short track grassroots racing. Majority of those teams are family owned teams. Yes, they got a leg up, by being born into racing families or born to parents who, have made successful careers in racing themselves. So yes, they had a leg up compared to any of us or drivers who are in short track racing. But most of these drivers, I can kind of agree with the Dillon brothers. Like have they made a name for themselves? Have they proven that they deserve the opportunity? But Chase Elliott, Dale Jr., Ryan Blaney, so on and so forth, I feel like they've been giving an opportunity that maybe other people didn't get, but I think they have made a name for themselves. They made careers for themselves. So I disagree with this whole nepotism in NASCAR debacle.
I'm going to say yellow flag for this simple reason. I think I am branching off of everything you just said. Some of these drivers were given opportunities that maybe others weren't given. I think it started off as nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to what you said, these drivers have made a name for themselves. They've developed the skills. They've put in the time. They've put in the work.
Yeah.
And now they're good at what they do. So, okay, you can say I only started this journey because of my dad so-and-so, or I'm related to yada, yada, yada. But you still have to be good.
Yeah. Which is why I'm questioning the Dillon brothers. I'm not saying that they're terrible, but they're not at the caliber as Chase Elliott or Dale Jr.
Ty Gibbs, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, Uncle Joe, whatever.
You know what? I want to change my... Well, no. Yeah, because I agree with that. I think that one... I mean, I guess all of these are, but it's also why are we talking about nepotism in NASCAR when NASCAR has been marketed as a family sport?
I agree.
And majority of the NASCAR teams are family owned, or started out as family owned businesses that I don't know. Yeah, I guess I can see it. Ty Gibbs would be the biggest.
Cody Coughlin.
Yeah, that's nepotism.
Yes.
But okay, but going back, I would sound like a hypocrite because Ty Gibbs has proven himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Yeah,
don't get me wrong. He has a lot to learn. Made a lot of bonehead moves. He's still going to make a lot of bonehead moves. But what person in the Cup Series hasn't or still doesn't do that?
Yeah.
So he's a young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Cup Series, but he's still a young kid. And maybe it started off as, you only have a ride because so-and-so. But look, I'm out here winning races on a consistent basis.
I'm going to change my answer to cautions flag since I don't want to sound like an idiot, because I'm sure people will disagree with me. But, so yes, I would agree it started out as nepotism, maybe.
In some cases.
Yes.
Not all of them.
But most of them have proven themselves to be worthy of that opportunity. But I also have a hard time believing that he's having this conversation because, again, motorsports has been marketed as a family business. Majority of the teams in short track racing are owned by families. And then it's whose spot are they really taking? Are they really taking a spot from somebody else? Because it's there's only so many drivers in the NASCAR series across the 3 series. So it's there's a lot of people at the short track levels that deserve an opportunity, but what's the chances?
Let me throw a name out there for you. And like you said, it's been marketed as a family thing. It's a family-owned team. But, and I really like this dude. His social media presence is funny. I don't follow him, but his tweets pop up every now and then. Cody Ware.
Mm-hmm.
For Rick Ware Racing.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me they can't find someone else to run that car? Is Cody only driving it because of his name?
I mean,
he literally shows up every week to finish 45 laps down.
I would agree with that. I would agree with where you're coming from. But yeah, no, I agree with that, I guess. Because I mean, I'd say it takes money to get into a seat, but it's
But they have multiple, they have cars in multiple different aspects of racing. Don't they have a drag race car? They have multiple cars. Rick Ware does.
Yeah.
He's not just in Cup racing.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
So I feel like the money's there.
Yeah.
If you can afford to go do whatever else he's doing.
I guess, yeah.
Now, I don't know what everything looks like on their end, but to me, it's hey, if you want to focus on NASCAR or whatever, cut a little bit of funding to one of your other race teams and put it towards your Cup team.
Yeah, I just made an ass of myself because, maybe I have a hard time believing that's nepotism because it's a family business, a family sport. Yeah, I guess it is nepotism, but
what?
I guess that's the creature we've all created.
I agree, but like, what's in it for them at that point? You can't tell me he's out there having fun every week, just watching cars fly by him like Talladega
I don't know,
Nights.
because I think I would have fun doing that just to have the opportunity.
I mean, I have fun when it happens to me at Mount Lawn, but
I get what you're saying, yeah. But like, I don't know. I think some of these examples that he used, I guess maybe that's my point, is like some of these are far fetched because yes, they've had legs up, but Chase Elliott, I don't know. Maybe he had help from his dad, but it's like he's proven himself. Dale Jr., I guess Dale Jr. would be the one I would not use as an example because like learning his like childhood, it wasn't a great one at times. He was set to take over DEI, and that was taken away from him. He went and started Dale Jr. Motorsports or Junior Motorsports. So I don't know. I think he would be the far fetched one. I think Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, but again, it's like if your parents raced in short track level of racing and you just got an opportunity, like Braxton Bush, if he got a ride in the future in the Cup Series, is that nepotism or is it like he just had an opportunity at a young age? Because like none of these drivers started out in their like 20s and 30s. Like they've all been racing short track, small. Like they've worked their way up. So is it really nepotism?
right. That's what I'm saying. This is like a double-edged sword. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here.
That's fair.
Do I think there are some cases where that is 100% the case? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, especially the big name guys that are like, oh, well, you're only here because your dad's so and so. But you're like, okay, also look what I can do behind the wheel of a car. Like I won a championship last year.
Ty Gibbs,
whatever.
Ty Gibbs would be, I think, a better example of this because has he done a lot of short track racing prior? I mean, he's still young, but like
Not that I know of. It was like ARCA Xfinity Cup.
yeah. So I think he would be a better example, but like I have a hard time believing that like Dale Jr. and Chase Elliott, like yes, I'm sure Bill probably pulled his weight to get him a ride at Hendrick. I'm not going to say he probably didn't, but like these guys paid their time in the lower levels of racing. So I think they've had opportunities to make names for themselves. I mean, yeah, being a Chase Elliott, I'm sure helps you out a lot, but he's proved himself in the lower levels of racing.
I think a name can only take you so far.
I agree.
Until it's like, okay, yeah, you're cool. You're related to
I mean, unless you're Cody Ware. But like...
But what I'm saying is like, okay, yes, he's made it to the Cup Series, but how successful has he been in the Cup Series?
Right.
So, okay, you compare him to Chase Elliott. Well, you're only here because your dad. Okay, right. My dad got me here, but look what I did with that.
Exactly. And that's I guess like that's the point that I've been trying to make is like, yes, it's Chase Elliott, yes, it's Ryan Blaney, but these guys have paid their time in lower levels of racing. They're not just jumping in it
right
because their dad's Bill Elliott and David Blaney or whatever.
Right. Like I said, I will say this 1,000 times over. The name gets you so far. You still have to be good. Mm-hmm. Exceptional, actually. Like you can't just be good.
Because I feel like you have to kind of like step outside the shadow of your dad.
Yeah.
I would want to.
Because you're always going to be in his footsteps. And everybody's like, oh, well. No, you have to like exceed that.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah.
But no, I'm right there. I think we agree.
Yeah. I think it took me a lot longer to make a point.
Hey, I mean.
But it is complicated because it's like, I really think that motorsports, I don't think I know that motorsports is a family marketed business. It's family driven. You see it more in short track levels of racing. So it's like, if Kyle Busch is giving Brexton an opportunity, I guess Brexton's a nepotism baby. I don't know. Although I think Brexton will prove himself too. So
I think another conversation to have along the same lines of this, some other time, we don't have to do it right now, but what about sponsorships?
Leading up to this episode, when I was thinking about topics, I was like, I think the conversation that we should have is like the amount of money that it costs to or drivers paying for a seat. They don't deserve it, but they have the money to bring with them to get a seat. I think that's the conversation we should have. Yeah, I agree. But
we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's all I have.
First episode of 2023 is in the books. We'll be back next Monday with another episode. So we thank you guys for hanging out with us. Sorry for the super long break, pause, hiatus, whatever you want to call it.
I will say, we've been putting in the work, back scenes, behind the scenes. So,
but We hope you enjoy this episode, and we hope to bring you better content
In 2023.
in 2023. See ya.